Hello, fiber friends. I have some wool. We're gonna spin this today because this wool is very historic. Queen Elizabeth wanted all of her stockings to be made from this wool, and the sheep that make this wool became terrible mothers because of Napoleon. This sheep is responsible for getting rid of the horns of some other sheep, and I find it all fascinating, so we're gonna try it out. This is Ryeland wool, and the sheep look like absolute teddy bears. I have 1 ounce of this Ryeland wool. It came from Wool Reed, and it's a natural color, and it's very squishy. Immediately, as soon as I took it out of the package, I was like, oh, that feels like Baby Doll Southdown, which I have spun, and I haven't spun this, but my goodness, if you didn't tell me this was Ryeland, I would put money on it being Baby Doll. Anyway, I'll give you some more details about the history of this breed while I'm spinning, but I want to get to it. So it's already washed. The next thing to do is prep it. Let's figure out how to do that. Oh, that's a second cut. We'll remove that. I am kind of picking through it a little bit. I just wanted to see what sort of staple length we're looking at here. There's a lot of this wool that is extremely short, like extremely. So, like, look at that. That's barely an inch right there, that lock. I don't know if you can see it. I'll hold it right up. That is barely an inch. This one's gonna be tricky. I knew it was, so I pulled it out. I'm up for a challenge. How about you? Have any of you ever gotten your hands on a fleece that was like really short and you were like, I don't think I can even spin this? This has to be carded. That's where I'm going with this. Carding is great when you have very short fibers. Combing would not work. There's no way I could comb this. So I'm gonna go grab my hand cards and we're gonna get to rolagging it. Sometimes if I have a whole fleece and it has different colors, I'll pull out like the freckles and spin those together, and I'll keep like the main color together. But there's not enough within this little 1 ounce sample to do that. It'll just be random and natural and probably pretty, I hope. We'll see. This one will be a challenge. It is so short. You know what I haven't done yet? I haven't looked at what the Fleece and Fiber Sourcebook says about Ryeland. This is usually my go-to. What was I thinking? I'm gonna get in trouble here because there's a lot of shires. I am sorry to anyone who's British that I don't know how to pronounce all of your words. It was the best of shire. It was the Worcestershire. Anyway, Ryeland is said to be named for the ryegrass pasture it grazed upon. In, is it Herefordshire? Herefordshire. 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 Oh my gosh. They don't look like they'd be that hard to say, but I just tongue twist myself. I'm so sorry. It was raised by monks as early as the 1300s. It is considered one of the oldest British sheep breeds. So that's pretty cool. We are touching history here. I'm reading through the details of the characteristics of the wool in here, and everything about mine is exactly spot on, except that mine is a little shorter. This says that usually they're mostly 3 to 4 inches, but you know, the sponginess, the disorganized but very crimpy fibers, the blockiness of the locks, all of that is spot on to what it says in this amazing book. So I think it's time to get carding. There are some different techniques when it comes to hand carding. The technique I'm using here is to use these curved hand cards and kind of rock them and lift up, sort of working my way across the bottom loaded hand card with the top hand card. And when I tip it and lift it up, it lifts the fibers out of the lower hand card, and then as it comes to the tip and I pull it back, it kind of drags those fibers through the tines of the bottom. It's a little bit of a combing action, but it's a hand card, so we can still call it carding, especially because we're gonna end up with a floofy rolag. So as I work my way up, I'm lifting and pulling apart those fibers, which really breaks up any clumps and puts them into a fluffy arrangement that is consistent enough that I can roll it into a rolag, and that will be ready for a long draw. The wool from Ryeland sheep was said to be so fine way back in the day that it rivaled the softness of Spanish merinos. And that makes it make sense why Queen Elizabeth I would want to promote Ryeland as being soft and luxurious, because that was a domestic breed to promote as opposed to Spanish merinos. So sheep and propaganda, who knew? I'm sure it was soft though. There's quite a few sources talking about the fine softness of the Ryeland wool. However, what I'm touching here I would not consider to be as soft as a merino, and I'll explain why in just a second. It kind of has to do with Napoleon. There is some question as to whether or not Ryelands originally came from the ancestor sheep that led to the Spanish merino. There is speculation that perhaps Ryelands were brought to Britain by the Romans. Fascinating stuff. This is so interesting. I hope you're all as interested as I am. In the late 18th century, Ryeland started to be bred more for their meat and less for their wool. Now, here's the thing about sheep. They only have so much energy, and if that energy is going to grow their muscle mass for meat, they aren't putting so much energy in their wool. So when you have a small sheep and you start breeding it to be larger and stockier to get a larger lamb chop, then you're going to sacrifice some of the production of the wool. That's just kind of what happens biologically. So when Napoleon was rampaging, they started breeding it with, I think it was Lincoln long wools. It was one of the British long wools that they started breeding it for. And the long wools are fairly large sheep. But what happened was that over time, it caused the Ryeland wool to become more coarse. And while they were good meat producers, they stopped having the delicate, fine flavor that people said Ryeland before the crossing with the long wools had. It was supposed to be a very tasty sheep, and they were breeding them larger, and it started to be that they lost more pregnancies, and the ewes struggled to birth the lambs. Because if you have a small sheep and you're breeding it to make large lambs, I had a 9-pound, 9-ounce baby. That's hard work for those ewes. And the farmers started to notice that they were losing more lambs than what they were gaining for the size for meat. And so the Ryeland breed got a bit scrambled. There were very, very few, I think it was down to a couple hundred Ryeland left in the UK that were still the original. I'm talking like currently, like up into early 1900s, that were still the original, not crossed with a long wool, original Ryeland stock. And they are considered a conservation breed because we want to keep those genetics. So I think it's really interesting to look at these ancient breeds. Ryeland are supposed to be very docile, they're easy to handle, and they do have a slightly smaller frame. So they really appeal to a lot of small farmers because they're very easy to keep. There's always a bad behaving ram somewhere, but he can go in the freezer. The rest of them are nice and small, and they can stay in the field. The realities of farming. If you know, you know. I never had sheep, but we did have goats. Similar. Except, you know, sheep go to heaven, goats go to
hell.
Let's go see the sheep. Sheep! Hello, sheep! Hello. They're like, nope. Who are you? Hello, sheep. I thought it might be fun to wear some related socks. The socks I'm wearing are from a polled Dorset sheep, which became polled when shepherds started mixing the Dorset with horns with the Ryeland sheep, and then they bred it for white wool, and they ended up with a down breed with no horns. And Ryeland is a great grandma or granddaddy. My rolags are ready to spin. So I'm gonna pull up my Schacht Matchless because it's already set up in double drive, and I like to use double drive when I'm doing a true long draw technique, which you're about to see what that looks like. So let's get to the spinning wheel. I have my leader already on a bobbin there, so I'm gonna start treadling and see how my tension is doing. For this type of a spin, I should be able to pull back on the leader, and it's going to turn the bobbin, but not the flyer. As I spin, if I need more adjustments than that, I will do those adjustments. The way I get it started is the leader has a loop in it. And so I just tuck a little bit of the wool into that loop and fold it back on itself. And that will secure it enough to get it started. Now, to do a true long draw, with this wool, which is a very short wool, a little nervous about it. I think we'll do okay. It is gonna be a little fluffy, that is for sure. All right, what was I about to say? Oh, to do a true long draw, what we wanna do is build up our twist over here so we have a good supply of it ready to go. And then I am going to let go of these fingers so that the twist can move past them. At the same time, I am quickly going to pull my rolag backward. And what should happen is that the twist should jump into multiple places at once. What I want is for this rolag to become the yarn without drafting the fibers out of the rolag. So I'm not doing any of this kind of little pulling it bit by bit off the end. I want this rolag to become yarn as it is by laying the twist onto it and stretching out the rolag. So I would say with a long draw like this, a true long draw, I'm not drafting, I'm not pulling fiber out as much as I am stretching the rolag into yarn. So let's build up some more twist, and then I let go, whoa, and it breaks. There's a good balance, and I was looking at the camera and I didn't quite get it. So let me stretch this bit out here. I'm gonna add twist, add twist, add twist. All right, and let's try that again. There. Pull it back. Oh, I'm going further than I can reach. No, I broke it again. This is tricky. Part of it's me. Part of it is because this wool is very, very, very short. I can't pull it very much without the twist before it will fall apart, like we've seen. So I need to really be sure I'm getting that twist in there very quickly. I knew this was gonna be challenging to spin, and I was not wrong. All right, I am gonna do a tiny little draft bit here at the very tip of the rolag just to get it connected to what's already on the wheel. Now I'm gonna build twist, build twist, build twist, and go. Stretching. Ooh. VM. Well, we did it. I'm adding more twist to make sure. Yeah, it's kind of squashing down those thick spots. Here we go. Adding twist and stretch. Nice. That one was pretty good. Okay. Add some twist. Add some twist. Wow, what a long draw. That one was good. Okay, I'm getting a feel for it. When your yarn comes apart, it's gonna come apart for one of two reasons. Either it came apart because it didn't have enough twist and so it slid apart. When that happens, both of the ends are gonna have fuzz, like it's gonna be wispy. Or it has too much twist built up in one spot, so that spot starts to buckle and pigtail and it becomes brittle. If you pull on your yarn and you have a spot that's making a real hard pigtail, you pull that pigtail apart, that spot is brittle and it can snap. And when that happens, you're not gonna have a wispy bit at the end, you're gonna have like a clear break of a snap. This is what it looks like up close. That's a snap, as opposed to not enough twist, where it's got fluff. But the snap is very kind of curled and coiled at the end there. To fix a break that has a snap, I usually untwist it until I can pull it apart and get that wispy end back, and then I put wispy on wispy and then add twist to it again. I'm about a third of the way through and I'm finally getting the hang of it. When you're spinning a true long draw, woolen long draw like what I'm doing, what happens is that as you pull back with tension, it's going to move your twist from the supply between your hand and the wheel into the rolag. So as you pull the rolag apart, wherever a thin spot forms, that is the spot where the twist will jump in. So all along the rolag, now I have all along the watchtower going in my head. Oh my goodness. Okay, focus. As it jumps into the thin spots, right? And you keep pulling, because the fiber is so short, it's still going to pull apart between the thin spots. And so as that pulls apart, the twist is jumping into those thin spots. And as you keep going and keep going and keep going, that twist is always jumping into whatever least resistance spot it can find. And that's usually going to be the thin spots because there's less fibers, so it takes less energy to turn it. And so the twist is going to move into those spots. And if you have fiber that's longer, then it's going to pool into those thin spots and you're going to get your fibers twist locked because they're held on both ends in those thin spots. What will happen then is that you keep pulling and you keep building up twist, more and more comes into the thin spot until it gets brittle and snaps. What happens when your fibers are so short is that there's a really good rhythm you can find, but on the other side of that, the more that you keep pulling and pulling and pulling, everything is thinning down, thinning down, thinning down, and you keep having more and more twist come in, and you hit the brittle point where something in there snaps. Because everything is so short, you keep narrowing down the slubs, and it's just so easy to build up too much twist. And you keep pulling and pulling, and now you've got tension, pulled up twist in a bunch of spots. You're going to hit that brittle point and it's going to snap. So when this yarn is done, this single has a very high twist in it. And that's okay. It has to. These fibers are so short. If this was a low twist, it's going to come apart real fast. And so it needs to have a high twist to hold everything in there, to tuck all those fibers into the yarn and to give it integrity. But because it has that high twist, because I'm trying to get that in there, it's making it very easy for it to snap in spots before I get it all leveled out. So what I do with the long draw is the spots that are slubby, they might have fibers that are long enough to get caught up in the twisted spots on both sides of it. So I just go to each of those spots, unroll it just a little bit to take a little twist out of there so that it's no longer twist locked, so that I can even out the thick slub spots. And that's called double drafting. And that's a technique as old as time, I am sure. As long as people have been spinning short fibers, people have double drafted. They have put twist in it and then gone back to level it out. I have 10 rolags left. I started with 15. I'm going to hold one back as a sample. And I'm going to keep spinning because I can't wait to ply this. That's going to be interesting. It's hard to predict how the final yarn is going to look until you get to the final yarn and you look at it and say, oh, that's how you turned out. Yay. But it is a fun process. Another thing that makes a big difference with this yarn is how consistent your rolags are. Any slubby, inconsistent, extra funky, thick, whatever spots in your rolag, they all become visible. As soon as you stretch it out, any of those shortcuts, they pop up to the surface. So there's no way to get those to incorporate. You just have to kind of pluck them off the yarn. Or leave it, it'll fall off eventually. This video is not sponsored, so I'm sponsoring it myself and promoting my Patreon. All of these long draw sections of video, I'm putting the speaker up close so you can hear the spinning wheel. I'm going to put that in its own video. It's going to go up on my Patreon. I have tons and tons of bonus content over there. There's workshops over there. You can watch the video that comes up on YouTube, except I put it there without any ads. And you can access that different things at different tiers, but you can get the bonus stuff, the bonus videos and the ad-free videos at the lowest tier, which is $5. That also gives you access to the Discord, which is a great community we have over there. So come join us. It's a good time. I promise. Okay, back to the spinning. This is really fascinating because I just switched to the dark color wool and it has a longer staple length. I can't use the same rhythm that I had with the shorter, very short stuff in the gray sections because I get twist locked. So I need to have less twist in there to stretch it out. And then once I get it thinned down, then I can build it up to the amount of twist I need. But I can't put as much twist in there because it's holding both ends of the same fiber. I can't thin it down, and that's happening because this has a longer staple length. This is why I wear an apron, because that looks like half the barnyard is on my apron. Let's take a look at my bobbin. I'm very pleased with it. When I look, I can see the fuzz of it, but it's more consistent than I thought it would be. So I'm actually kind of proud of that. But like I said, it could be completely deceiving me here. I have to ply it to really know. So I'm gonna go get my center pole ball thing, my yarn caker, the crank thing. I'm gonna ball this up and then I'll be back to ply. Well, friends, I really like how this yarn came out. It has all the character that woolen yarn usually has. It's squishy, it's bouncy, and it's fuzzy. It's cozy. I was a little worried at first that it would end up feeling kind of wiry because of how much twist I had to put in it to get all those really short fibers to hold up. It's not wiry. As soon as I plied it, as my fingers were sliding along with the twist and the ply, I could feel it softening up on the twist side of my fingers. And that was really cool. That was a really cool experience. Yeah, I like how the different colors came together. When I was just grabbing those rolags at random, and I like how it kind of, yeah, it's just different shades of brown, but I think it's cool that it came from the same sheep. That's always fun. Let me know if you've ever spun Ryeland. If you live in the UK, get your hands on some and see if you can find some of those original flocks. I think this is a really fascinating breed, and I think it would make a lovely sweater. So I got a baby doll South Down 2 years ago at Wisconsin Sheep and Wool, and I feel bad because I haven't finished processing it. I did spin it for an article that I did in Ply Magazine, and I tested different types of finishing to see if it makes a difference, like if you thwack it or, you know, wrap it up in a towel or whatever. This felt so much like that baby doll, but the baby doll was softer. But the baby doll is an award show winning fleece, so that could have something to do with it. I don't know. But I did enjoy this spin. Maybe if I do that baby doll, I'll put them both in the same project. I think that would be fun. They'd be very, very comparable and compatible. So here it is up close, and I will wish you all happy spinning, and I'll see you next time. Bye, friends.